Hello, my name is Hans Campbell, and today I thought I'd work on my Pentium II computer. Most of you will probably recognize this compact flash card adapter that I pulled out of my orange and black Amiga 2000 computer because I couldn't get it to work with the Buddha IDE. So I thought that I would install this today inside Alice. And since I'm going to slide the cover off, I thought I'd also show you the different parts that I use to build this computer, this legacy PC, and what my future plans are for this computer, for this channel. So yeah. Anyway, let's get started. All right. First I want to talk about the motherboard that I installed in this computer, this Pentium II computer. Right here is the motherboard. Okay, it's an Intel SE440VX-2 motherboard. This is like one of the best Pentium II motherboards that you can buy. It also supports the early 100 megahertz front-side bus Pentium 3 processors. But this is a genuine Intel Pentium 2 motherboard. I bought it brand new on eBay. And it's a really nice motherboard for this legacy PC. There's the back of the box. There's nothing really on the back. Okay. All right. The processor, the Pentium 2 processor that I chose for my Pentium 2 build is Katami Core 300 megahertz. And the reason why I chose that processor is because it has an unlocked multiplier, which means that I could run the processor at I think at like 144 megahertz, 166 megahertz, 200 megahertz, all the way up to 300 megahertz. You can control the speed of the processor. And you can also turn on and off the cache, the onboard cache. And this is great for like the earlier speed-sensitive games. And a good example of that would be Ultima 7, the Black Gate. Or some of the Sierra games are very speed-sensitive. They're speed-sensitive. When you lower the clock speed on the processor all the way down to its lowest speed, and you turn off the onboard cache, it effectively makes this processor a 486, which is perfect for the really old DOS games, the early Windows games. But if I need more speed, like let's say I'm playing Doom 2 or Duke Nukem 3D or Shadow Warrior or Blood, or Witch Haven, or Quake 2, those games are run fine at the 300 megahertz speed. So this is a perfect legacy PC. And I basically use all brand new parts from the time period, from that time period. Okay. The power supply and the case is brand new. Everything's basically brand new. I'm using, for the graphics card, I'm using a Diamond Viper V770 with 32 megs of video RAM. That was one of the finest graphics cards that you could buy during the Pentium 2 time period. Okay, so that's why I chose that graphics card. And for the sound card, I'm using a Sound Blaster AWE64, which is one of the best sound cards ever made. So yeah, I wanted a really nice sound card for this this legacy PC build. The memory, I'm using 3 brand new sticks of 64 megabytes per stick. So I think is what is it, 192 megabytes of memory. Yeah, 64, yes, 192 megabytes of memory. 3 64 meg sticks is what I'm using. Okay. The front of the computer, okay, the front of this beautiful computer, well, okay, doesn't have to be perfect, Mr. Campbell, okay, doesn't have to be perfect. Anyway, I'm using a brand new Mitsumi 1.44 megabyte disk drive, 3.5 inch disk drive, and I'm using a genuine Pioneer CD-ROM DVD drive. I always use Pioneer for my optical drives. Pioneer invented the Laserdisc technology, so whenever possible, I always use Pioneer drives when it comes to CD and DVD and that type of thing. You know, just like whenever I buy hard drives, I prefer Seagate's. Seagate makes the best hard drives. They really have, and I know this from personal experience because in my 25 years of working as an electronics assembler and an engineer's assistant, I worked for a company in Beaverton. I worked very closely with the engineers out there that designed the spindle motors for the Seagate hard drives. And they would, I would run a program, a simulation program on a powerful computer that would simulate the motor and the motor running. And I would have to run these processes overnight. And then I'd have to turn in the results to the engineers that I worked under. And it was a very interesting job. And I found out that Seagate only allowed the highest quality parts to be used in their hard drives. They did not use low quality, crappy parts. And I know this from personal experience. Seagate is the best hard drive. They're the best hard drives ever made. And so whenever I put a hard drive in one of my computers, including my old Amiga computers, it's always Seagate. You know, unless I can't find a Seagate, then I'll use something else. But yeah, in my legacy PC builds, oh yeah, always Seagate. I always go with Seagate hard drives because they're the best. Even in Ruby, my main PC, I have 4, yes, count them, 4 Seagate mechanical hard drives. That's right, no SSD, all mechanical hard drives by Seagate. Okay. And, well, my Seagate hard drive is right here. I have it mounted right here. Okay. So, in order to mount that compact flash card, we're going to have to take the other side panel off. So I'm going to pause the video or stop the video, and I'll return in just a moment. Alrighty. So let's take this other side panel off. Yeah, you'll be seeing a lot more of this computer in future episodes of the Hans Campbell Show. You'll be seeing a lot more of this. This computer's name is Alice. I name all my computers so that when they're on the network, I know what computer is which. Like my Pentium II computer here, her name is Alice. My main computer, her name is Ruby. My Pentium III build that I built 20 years ago, and I still have her, she's like in brand new condition. Her name is Helen. And then the computer that I built for my friend, her computer's name is Sapphire. So this way, when they're all on the network, I know what computer is which. You know, it's always a good idea to name your computers, and you don't have to call them a name. You can say like Pentium II PC or Pentium III PC. You know, you can name them that way, just as long as you can differentiate between the different computers that are on the network. I just named mine because I think it's kind of cute. You know, like my Pentium II builder, her name is Alice. You know, this is Alice. So, yeah. Okay, so got that cover up. And, okay, not much for cable management in these old computers. Like, what cable management? Okay, so I'm trying to think where I want to put it. Compact flash card. Because I'm going to be installing a 5 1/4 inch disk drive here. As soon as I can find a black faceplate TAC drive. TAC, they make really nice 5 1/4 inch disk drives. But it's very difficult to find the 5 1/4 inch drives anymore. Especially the ones with the black faceplates. The beige faceplates or cream colored faceplates, yeah, I can still find those on eBay from time to time. But the black faceplate drives, especially the TAC ones, I want TAC. Those are very hard to find. And whenever I find them on eBay, they're like, hell, almost $200 a piece. Oh yeah, they're very expensive. So yeah, if any of you have a black faceplate TAC drive, a 1.2 megabyte TAC drive that you're not using anymore, I would really appreciate it if you can send it to me. I'm willing to pay for shipping or pay you a small amount of money for it. That's no problem. But you'll really be helping me out by providing a black faceplate 5 1/4 inch TAC drive. I'm looking for one of those. So if any of you have one, hey, get in contact with me through my email, and yeah, maybe we can work out a trade or something. Okay, so I'm going to put the TAC drive here. And the hard drive's in the next bay above, so I don't know. Okay, well, shoot. You know what? I'd have to put that into a 3.5 inch to 5 1/4 inch adapter. Darn it. I gotta see if I got one. Yeah, I gotta see if I got one. So, I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. I had to go into my parts area and get a 3.5 inch to 5 1/4 inch adapter with a black faceplate. So now that's looking nice, you know. I think this is how I had it. I think this is the same adapter that I used when I had this mounted in my Halloween Amiga 2000. So I'm glad I hung on to it. And then, yeah, I went ahead and mounted this, screwed this in off camera, because I didn't want to make you guys just sit there and watch me do this, you know. And I went ahead and I popped this piece off camera, you know. So, yeah, this way you don't have to wait to do that either. So, yeah, I decided that I think the best place to put that adapter, since it's IDE related, you know, and I got my hard drive behind this bay, so that's IDE. The DVD-ROM drive is IDE, and that's IDE. So I figured, well, I'll keep all of these together, and I'll have my 5 1/4 inch disk drive mounted here, and this above the 3.5 inch disk drive. But yeah, I need the 5 1/4 inch disk drive because a lot of the games I played, they're on 5 1/4 inch discs. And also, I plan on using this computer to make auto-booting game discs and stuff for my Bridgeport Amiga 2000. Yeah, so... And I want this compact flash card adapter in here because I plan on using that. Okay, so we got that. don't think it's going to reach. Damn. Okay. Alrighty. Wow, this is pretty tight. Pretty tight. Well, shit. For some reason, it's in there pretty damn tight. Come on. Not too tight. Alright. Let me get some screws. Got a whole bunch of these fine thread PC screws. Let me put my goggles on. I can't see nothing without my 7-power goggles. So let's put these on. Okay. Well, I put that one in there. And I can put, let me see. That one in there. Yeah. Alright. So I don't want to tighten too tight because I don't have this in there yet. Let's see. Let's straighten it. Man, that is up there like at an angle or something. Like these are, I don't know. I might have to just work on this off camera because I don't want to bore you guys with this. So. Yeah, might have to work on this off camera. I'm sorry about that. I know some of you probably wanted to watch this, but and I'm thinking, okay, I usually like to have my hard drive on the primary IDE port by itself, and then have the optical drives on the secondary IDE by themselves. So I'm trying to think if this is would be considered an optical drive or a hard drive. I'm thinking hard drive. So the cable that's on the hard drive now is like this. It just has the two connectors, one on each end. So I can't go any further until I get one of these cables, a little bit longer, that has the one connector in the middle right here. I might have to custom make my own because I got the crimpers and stuff to make these cables. But yeah, I won't be able to finish hooking this up because it has to be hooked to the same ribbon cable as my hard drive. I think that'd be the best way to do it. Keep the DVD drive on its own, you know, by itself. Because the reason why you want to do that is that if you have the hard drive and the DVD drive together on the same IDE cable, ribbon cable, the optical drive can actually cause the hard drive to slow down. That's been my experience through the decades, especially on these older computers, these older interfaces. Yeah. So yes, it's actually best to keep your optical drives on the secondary IDE and your hard drives on the primary IDE. So no more than 2 hard drives, no more than 2 optical drives. So yeah, this would be like my second hard drive when I get this installed. But I can't finish it today because I need to get the appropriate cable, which I don't have. I'm sorry about that. I know a lot of you want to see me finish this, you know, but that's just the way it is sometimes. I mean, you people that work on computers all the time, you know what I'm talking about. Things don't always work out the way you planned. But yeah, I figured while I'm working on Alice today that I turn on the camera and record what I'm doing, you know, in case any of you want to watch me do this, you know. So let me plug this power cord back in for the DVD drive. Okay, like that. And there's my Seagate hard drive. And this, well, shoot, I'm just going to have it like that. Well, I don't want to get in the way. Oh, there is I could put a fan here if I wanted to. I might actually do that. I've got a ruby red fan I can put in here. Yeah. But I need to get the long bolts for that, because these are threaded, so I would need long bolts to go completely through the fan to screw into here. And then move the mechanical hard drive, the Seagate hard drive, down to here. I think that's a smart move, because mechanical hard drives, they get hot, they run hot. And so if you want to make them last longer, you want to set them up in this situation where the drive is behind a fan. And a fan is pulling the air in and blowing it across that hard drive. So I think that's what I want to do. Yeah, that's what I want to do. There's my Pentium 3 computer. Pentium 2 processor. Pentium 2 processor. And there's my memory sticks. 3 64 megabyte sticks. That's the maximum that this motherboard will hold. Now, normally the Pentium 2 processor, 300 meg. Well, any of the Pentium 2s that are below, I think it's 400 megahertz. They come with a the type of they have like a built-in piece of metal, and you have to screw on the heatsink with those screws, the 4 screws. I think they're Allen head screws. I never liked that. So what I did was I carefully removed the Pentium 2, the 300 megahertz Pentium 2 board. Okay, I removed that board from the casing. And that was a pain in the ass to do that. That was quite a chore to do that without damaging the Pentium 2 processor. Okay, and I bought a Pentium 2 processor that was 400 megahertz because I wanted the new housing. The new housing has holes that go all the way through, so that you can use heat sinks and fans like this. These are much higher quality, and the bolts go all the way through. And there's a clip on the back that slides over to hold it nice and secure. I prefer those. But those were never done on the Pentium 2 processors that are below 400 megahertz. Okay? So I put the 300 megahertz Pentium 2 board into this 400 megahertz Pentium 2 case. Okay, and it worked out great. So it says 400 megahertz on here, but it's actually a 300 megahertz Pentium 2, the Katami core. And this way I was able to use these more modern, these much nicer heat sinks and fan assemblies, because the 300 megahertz Pentium 2 is a Katami core. They run hot. They produce a lot of wattage, a lot of heat. And so you want a high quality heat sink and fan like this to keep that processor nice and cool. Especially if you're running games like, Doom 2, Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, Blood, Quake, Quake 2, Witch Haven, those kind of games. Oh yeah. Yeah. This processor will get nice and toasty if you don't have a nice high quality heatsink and fan like that on it. Now a lot of people, they just put a 400 megahertz in there and be done with it. Pentium 2 or 450. I think the 450 is the fastest Pentium 2 processor. But the bad thing about those is that they have a locked multiplier. You cannot change the speed of that processor. The only Pentium II that I know of where you can actually change the speed of the processor is the 300 megahertz Pentium II processor, like this one here. Okay, so that's why I chose the 300 megahertz Pentium II processor. And make sure it's got the Katami core, because there's a newer version of the 300 megahertz Pentium II processor that has a locked multiplier, and those are the ones that are commonly found for sale on eBay. So make sure that if you're trying to get one of these on eBay or whatever, that you ask the seller specifically, you know, does this processor have the Katami core? I mean, what core does it have? Does it have the unlocked multiplier? If he doesn't know that, just ask him what core does it have. Because the one with the unlocked multiplier has the Katami core. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, but yeah. And so, yeah, by having the unlocked multiplier, this is a great legacy PC, this Pentium II right here, because you can lower this, drop the speed all the way down to like around, what is it, 144 megahertz. And you can also turn on and off the cache, the onboard cache. Okay, effectively turning this Pentium II processor into a 486 processor. That's for running the really old software. And a good example of what I'm talking about is like if those of you that have ever tried to run Ultima 7, the Black Gate, you know how finicky that game is. It will only run on specific hardware. And if it's not set up properly, it will not run. That game will not load. Okay, so yeah, that's one of the reasons why I built this Pentium II the way I did, because I want to be able to run that game. I want to be able to play that game. Other games that are speed sensitive like that are some of the Sierra games, like The Secret of Monkey Island. I can't remember exactly what it is. I think you have to turn on the onboard. You have to turn off the onboard cache, and of course you have to drop the speed too. If you can drop the speed, I mean, if you have it at 300 megahertz or faster, The Secret of Monkey Island won't load. It won't even load up. They give you a black screen. But if you lower the Pentium II processor down to 144 megahertz, then the game will run, but you won't have any sound. So you also have to turn off the onboard cache. Then you get your sound too. So a lot of the games are like that. Some of those older, I mean really early DOS games. And a lot of those games are fun to play. You know, just because something is old doesn't mean it's no longer fun. Okay, look how many people are still into the Commodore 64, that 8-bit stuff, you know. And it's very popular. It's still very popular, especially here in the Pacific Northwest. I think we have like 3 or 4 Commodore users groups. I belong to 2 of them. And, well, one of them. The other one I'm fixing to join. But, yeah, it's very popular. Even though it's 8-bit, you know, stick figures or whatever. Still very popular. So you can imagine the 16-bit games, the early 16-bit DOS games and stuff, you know, they're still very popular, you know. So yeah, I thought I'd let you guys tag along today when I'm working on Alice, my Pentium II computer. I can't finish her up because I don't have the appropriate ribbon key. I need to make another one slightly longer, and I'll need to put the connector in the middle here. I need some room, some cable length here too, because it has to go. Well, the hard drive's going to go here. Okay. But the compact flash adapter is up here. So I have to have that much space to be able to plug it in, and it's still plugging into the hard drive too. About that much space. I like to have space, so I have to custom make my own cable. And then this connector has to go on a longer cable to plug it into the motherboard. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put her back together. Alright, so let's go ahead and put the sides back on. Yeah, make her so pretty, so absolutely lovely. Actually, it might be like that. And then slide that puppy on like so. Alright. And we put these thumb screws on. Like that. And then the next time I work on Alice, I'll have the custom ribbon cable made, and I'll have the longer bolts and lock nuts and washers and stuff that I need for installing a beautiful ruby red, LED fan on the front. And I'll move the Seagate hard drive down so that fan will blow air across it and keep it nice and cool. You guys get to watch me do all that. So there's that. And let's see, put that there. And put that baby right there like that. Okay. And I know some people will find this video boring, but there are others that like watching stuff like this. People work on their old PCs or old computers and stuff, so this video is for you guys. But don't worry, I got more videos coming up. I got at least 2 or 3 videos coming up just this one week, just this next week. Yeah. So don't worry. So, yeah, I think this is on there okay. Let me make sure it's down there on the bottom is okay. I'll put this cable away. Don't need it. Put it down there. And also what I like to do, I like to print out a label. And I stick it on the side of my case here. So that I know what's inside this case. Like it says here. Okay, Intel Pentium II, 300 megahertz, 192 megs of memory, Intel Slot 1 motherboard, Diamond Viper V770 with 32 megabytes of video memory, and a Sound Blaster AWE64 sound card. So this way I know what's inside Alice. Okay, I'm going to sit down and talk to you guys a little bit. Turn this off. And turn that off. I don't need that on. I'll put my Amiga hat back on. I need that on. I've got to have my Amiga hat on, right? Okay. Then turn Alice around so you have something to look at while I'm busy yakking at you. Anyway. Okay, so... am I in the shot? Well, I can move the camera around a little bit. Yeah. Okay. I know this video's not perfect, but that's okay. Yeah, it's still not. Alright. Well, boy, this video is really not perfect. I'm not worried about that. I don't think you guys are either. But anyway, I want to talk to you a little bit and tell you guys what's going on. Yeah, I wanted to get some work done on Alice today. I'll have to finish her up when I get the parts I need. So, yeah. So stay tuned for the continuation of this. Yeah. But I'm also planning on doing a lot of gameplay videos and stuff like that using this computer. So, tonight, I'm going to be recording a video where I show you the brand new blue case that I got from my Amiga 1200 computer, including a really nice label that I got for the case. That's coming up tonight, actually. And then either tomorrow or Monday, I'm going to start recording the first 3 bridgeboard videos that a lot of you have been waiting for. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, but those are finally being recorded. And then part of the well, I think it's going to be at the end of the first video, maybe the second video. I'm going to be doing an unboxing of the new RGB to HDMI board that I bought for use inside my Bridgeboard Amiga 2000 computer. So I'm going to show that too. I'll unbox it and I'll show it, you know. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about it. And I'm going to show me plugging it into the computer and setting it all up with a nice 32-inch Samsung HD TV. And I'll show you how to go through the menu options and how to configure everything. And I think you guys will like that. As far as the Bridgeboard videos, the very first one, well, in the very first video, I'm going to show you guys the Bridgeboard and what I did to it. Like, for instance, on the main board, I removed the stock 8 MHz third-party 286 processor, okay, and I installed a genuine Intel 10 MHz 286 processor. And I also changed out the crystal. I unsoldered the original 16 MHz crystal, and I soldered in a 20 MHz crystal. Okay. But when you do this, the floppy disk controller will no longer function until you make some alterations to the daughter board. And so I'm going to show you what I did as far as that as well. I also installed an 8287 math coprocessor, the X version, which is a variable speed version of the math chip, the math coprocessor. It runs at the same speed as the 286 processor. So I installed one of those. And then on the daughter board, I unsoldered the original clock module. And I soldered in a socket, and I plugged in a brand new clock module. And I'm going to show you all of that. I also soldered in a brand new 16 MHz crystal onto the daughter board. And there's 2 jumpers that you have to change out. You have to unsolder one. Well, it's like there's a solder blob between 2 solder points or connection points, and then there's a trace going between, I think, 2 others. You have to drill through that trace, and I'll talk about that and show you all of that. And that's what you have to do, because that tells the Bridgeboard to use, instead of using the crystal that's on the main board, to use the new crystal that you soldered into the daughter board, which is the proper 16 MHz, so that the floppy disk controller runs properly and you won't have any problems with it. Now, I haven't tried it yet, but I think this will also work with Intel's 12.5 MHz 286 processor. I know it works with the 10 MHz. And the reason why I chose the 10 MHz processor, because a lot of the software from that time period, from the 8088 to 286 time period, if you notice, it says on the box a lot of times, requires a 286 running at 10 MHz. You'll see that on a lot of game boxes from that time period. Or anything less than that. I mean, a lot of the games will run on an 8088 processor. They'll also run just fine on a 286. You know, so a lot of people are under the false belief that a 286 bridge board is no longer a viable option today, but that's not true. It's not true. And I'm going to show that on my channel. I'm going to prove that. Because one of the first, well, in the, okay, the second video, okay, the first video, I'm going to show the bridge board. I'm going to talk about what I did to it, of course. I'm going to show the graphics card, brand new in the box from that time period, that I'm going to be using with the bridge board. I'm also going to show you the Sound Blaster 16 that I'm going to be using with the bridge board. And this is the full Sound Blaster 16, not the Vibra crap or the stripped down version. No, this is the complete full Sound Blaster 16 card. It's a beautiful card. So this is what the first video is going to be about. I'm just going to be showing the bridge board. I'll talk about it, what I did to it. I'll show the graphics card I'm going to be using, and I'm going to show the Sound Blaster 16 card. In the second video, I'm going to be showing you the GEM desktop. Well, actually, no. The second video, I'm going to be installing. We'll be sliding the cover off my Bridgeboard Amiga 2000. You get to see it. And I'll be plugging in the Bridgeboard and the graphics card and the sound card and all that, setting everything up. And then I'll invite you into my main computer room where I install. Well, I'll show you the disks that I have, because I'm not going to be running a hard drive. I'm going to be, it'll be a disk-based system. A lot of you thinking, well, what? Well, disks don't take that long to load up. They really don't. And this is the way I do it. I have my DOS on a bootable disk, the DOS that I'm going to be using. I have the GEM desktop, the pre-Apple lawsuit version of the GEM desktop, on auto-booting disks. And I have each game that I run and play on my Bridgeboard Amiga. Each game is on its own separate auto-booting disk. So whenever I want to play a game or something, I just put that in the drive, turn on the computer, or do a reset, and the game loads right up. No fuss, no muss. No hard drive required. Okay? A lot of you are spoiled. You really are. But trust me, if you really want to get the full 8088 processor or 286 processor experience, you want to run the Bridgeboard as a floppy-based system. And there's another reason for this. Do not use hard drive emulation or a hard file, which you can create for the Bridgeboard. But that hard file, that hard disk emulation mode, is what slows down the Bridgeboard to almost a crawl. But by running the Bridgeboard as a floppy disk-based system, it will run as fast as a normal 286 computer. Full speed, no slowdown at all. I'm also going to show you the actual bridge part of the Bridgeboard. It's a set of memory chips that make up the bridge between the PC side and the Amiga side, and vice versa. I think it's like 4 memory chips, like 128K or something like that, that actually makes up the bridge part of the Bridgeboard. I'm going to show that, those memory chips. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So yeah, these are going to be some exciting videos that I'll start recording. It's either going to be tomorrow or Monday. I'll start recording those, and I'll post them up on my YouTube channel soon after that. Now, the third video, I will be showing the 2 versions of DOS that I use. They're brand new, still shrink wrapped, and that's genuine IBM DOS 3.3. I'll actually show you that. I'm also going to show you genuine IBM DOS 5.0, or DOS 5. And these are the 2 versions of DOS that I recommend using. I'm also going to show you the GEM desktop. It's a beautiful beautiful graphics user interface. I mean, for those of you that are used to using the Atari ST computer, you know about the GEM desktop. You're familiar with GEM. But the PC version of GEM, the pre-Apple lawsuit version of GEM, the GEM desktop, blows the doors off the GEM desktop that was used in the Atari ST. Okay? It's more like the GEM desktop that was used in like the Falcon or the TT. It's more like that kind of a GEM desktop with beautiful multicolored icons. You can customize your icons and stuff, you can move your windows around. You have a nice trash can and everything. When Apple sued Digital Research, Digital Research was forced to strip all of that out of the GEM desktop, starting with version 2.0. And by the time they got the GEM 3.0, it was no longer the GEM desktop that it used to be. And what caused that is Bill Gates, and this is one of the reasons why I don't like Bill Gates. That him and I, we actually had a falling out, because I used to have lunch with him. We used to have lunch together. We used to be friends. This is before he became famous and became rich and all that. This is in the early years. We used to have lunch with him. And he used to show me, because he was like a nerd, typical nerd. He was always programming, working on his programs and stuff that he was working on. He was showing me, as we were having lunch, he'd have his notebook. He'd be trying to figure out different subroutines and stuff like that. And he'd show them to me, you know. And he showed me what he was working on. And I looked at him and I said, you know, Bill, I think you're going to be a famous man one day. You're going to be rich. Don't give up. Because he was ready to give up. He was just frustrated, you know. He was ready to give up. I said, no, don't do that. Don't give up. You're on to something. I see you, and when I look at you, I see a rich man. I see you becoming one of the richest men on earth. You're on to something. Don't give up. Okay? But we had a falling out because of this one thing that he did, this crap that he pulled. And I lost all respect for him when he did this. He basically, okay, he didn't like the fact, because by this time he had already programmed DOS. And he had already programmed Windows version 1.0. And customers, you know, people actually preferred at that time, I remember this time very well, because even I preferred the GEM desktop over Windows. People actually preferred the GEM desktop over Windows. So everybody was buying the GEM desktop to install on their PCs. Hardly anyone was buying Windows. They hated Windows. Okay? And this pissed off Bill Gates to the point to where he calls Steve Jobs, crying like a little bitch. And he says, wah, wah, Steve, have you noticed the new GEM desktop? It looks an awful lot like the Apple's operating system. Get him! Sue him! And ever since Bill Gates did that, I lost all respect for the man. When he did that, we were no longer friends. When he pulled that crap. Well, we weren't really friends, but we were associates, working associates. But when he pulled that, I lost all respect for him. Because a better man would have just worked harder, would have studied the competition, and would have thought up ways to make his or her product better. And he didn't do that. He took the lazy way out. He called Steve Jobs, snitched on Digital Research, and six Apple computers on the Digital Research. And so Apple sued Digital Research, and Digital Research was forced to strip out all the things that made the original GEM desktop such a marvelous graphics user interface. Okay? And that's how when Bill Gates' Microsoft Windows was finally able to get a foothold on the market, because he no longer had to worry about his main competitor, which was Digital Research's GEM desktop. So there was nothing else out there that could compete with Windows. And so that allowed Windows to take off. I never will forget this time period because I was part of it. I was part of this time period. And even I remember preferring the GEM desktop over Windows, the early versions of Windows. Because that's what I used on my early, like the first two 8088 processor-based PCs that I built way back then. Both of them had the GEM desktop. And then even my first 286 that I built, it too had the GEM desktop. And I'm going to be installing the GEM desktop, the pre-Apple lawsuit version of the GEM desktop, on my bridge board. I mean, I'll be using it with my bridge board. Now, there is an 8-bit or actually 16-bit, IDE controller that you can get on eBay. It's about $80. That's supposed to work with the bridge board, and it allows you to use a compact flash card as an IDE hard drive. That's supposed to work with the bridge board at full speed. So later on, I'm going to get one of those to try it out, and of course you guys get to tag along. I'll make some videos about that board, and I will invite you into my computer room, and we'll see if we can create a hard drive on the compact flash card to use with the bridge board, and how fast is it. You know, you guys get to see all of that. It's probably going to be either on the 4th or 5th episode of the bridge board series, because this is going to be a continuing series about the bridge board, because I'm planning on also showing you, like in yeah, I think on episode 3 or 4, I'm going to show you the GEM desktop, that original pre-lawsuit GEM desktop. I'm also going to show you both versions of DOS that I use. Okay, so that would be episode 3. Starting in episode 4 of the Bridgeboard series, I'm going to be showing all the different games from that time period that runs beautifully on the Commodore 286 Bridgeboard. Runs absolutely beautifully. So not only do you have all these Amiga games at your, that you can play, all of a sudden it's opened up a huge world of all these PC games. And believe it or not, some of the PC games I think are actually better than the Amiga version from that time period. And a lot of you are probably going to be thinking, Hans, you're full of crap now. No, 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 no. Like, for instance, a good example is the game Gods. That's right, you heard me right. I think the PC version of Gods is actually much nicer, or just as good as the Amiga version. And that's running on a 286 processor. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And a lot of the other games that came out for both the Amiga and the PC, they run great. In fact, a lot of games that came out for the Amiga also came out for the PCs at that time. And they'll run on the 286 Bridgeboard, no problem. So you get to see all these different games, because I'm going to show them on my channel in this Bridgeboard series. This is going to be a continuing series. Okay. I like to buy my games like from eBay or get them Craigslist or whatever in their original boxes and complete. That's just the way I am. I'm a real stickler about software. I actually collect the software more than the hardware. I love the software in the original boxes. So as I get a new game that runs on the Bridgeboard in their original boxes or whatever, I will show that game in its original box, complete. And I will show it running on the Bridgeboard. Because remember what I told you. I also bought, and I'm going to show this too, I also bought the RGB to HDMI board that plugs into the video slot of the Amiga 2000. I'm plugging that into my Bridgeboard Amiga. It comes out with HDMI, which I'm going to feed into an HD TV, well, like an HDMI video capturing device. The same one that I use on my PC, my main PC, Ruby. It works really good. And so I'll be able to record not only the Amiga games, or I get to show you how to do things in Lux Paint 3 or whatever, Stay tuned for these videos. They're all going to be in full 1080p resolution on my YouTube channel. But I'll also get to show you all these different programs and games running on my 286 Bridgeboard. Oh yeah, it's going to be exciting. You're in for some exciting times, exciting videos on this YouTube channel, the Hans Campbell Show. Trust me, if you have not subscribed yet, maybe you should. Because if you like videos about vintage computers, hardware and software and stuff like that, recaps, repairs, reviews of hardware and software, you're going to love this channel. Trust me on that. Okay? You're going to love this channel. But yeah, I don't mean to talk your guys' heads off, but I just want to tell you what I have planned for the next few weeks. There's going to be some exciting content coming up. I think you guys are going to love it. And yeah, I want to tell you a little bit of the history about Bill Gates and I, and what caused us to no longer become associates. I lost all respect for him when he pulled that crap on digital research. Cried like a little bitch to Steve Jobs, and had Steve Jobs sue digital research because of the GEM desktop. Because Bill Gates could not sell his Windows as long as the GEM desktop, the original version of the GEM desktop, was being produced and sold. And I think, oh man, yeah, like I said, I lost respect for the man. I knew him personally. I used to have lunch with him. Every day we'd have lunch in the damn lunchroom. The one place where we worked, I can't remember the name where we work now. It's been so damn long ago. But this was before he became famous, when he was still just a young nerd. And I hate to call him that, because I was a nerd too back then. In fact, I'm still a nerd. Computer nerd, whatever. But yeah, I lost all respect for him when he did that. And I think he's being a jerk by not allowing his family, like his children, to inherit some of his fortune. I think he's being a jerk about that. I mean, if I was in his shoes and I had family like that, they would inherit my fortune. They would reap the rewards of my deeds. Maybe they could continue on. Maybe they could use the money for something. Who knows? But I think he's being a jerk by not allowing his children access to that money. He's a multi-billionaire. I mean, this guy's a billionaire. And what is he doing with that money? Is he helping the world? I don't see him helping the world. Is he helping the planet? Is he helping the computer industry or the electronics industry to make them better? What's he doing? Anyway, I don't want to talk bad about him. I don't like talking bad about people, but I just thought I'd mention that, you know, that brief bit of history, you know. But anyway, that's it for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. I really do. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for a lot more exciting content coming up. Stay tuned. My name is Hans George Campbell, and until next time.